free fun for everyone. Sold
Leonardo, the katana blade. My God.
Attack the evil Inhumanoid, forcing him back into the earth.
Hey, the name's Boglins. You sold separately.
We battle our Hino and Skeletor each sold separately. You put them out together. Turn them into the light, and they change into even more powerful.
Battle against Lion-O and the new Thundercat ally.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of That New Toy Smell. Now last week on the show we did Funkeys, which was the first of the modern Toys to Life games. Then on Video Game Losers on last Wednesday we talked about Lego Dimensions and Disney Infinity.
Which helped cause the downfall of Toys to Life series.
Well, kind of. And then today we're going to be taking a look at the 800-pound gorilla. The massive, massive success and massive, massive failure, ultimately, that was Skylanders. This was the king of the Toys to Life games, which meant that it had nowhere to go but down when it ultimately hit the top. So, let's take a look at Skylanders. Skylanders was the undisputed king of the modern Toys to Life genre. Technically, it still is, since it was never officially canceled, though nothing new has been announced in the last 2 years. Launched in the fall of 2011, Skylanders: Spyro's Adventure was an immediate hit, even at a price of $69.99. Despite the name, Spyro the Dragon, star of 13 previous video games, wasn't much of a star in this one. Instead, the developer, Toys for Bob, pushed the concept of the Skylanders team, a band of heroes working with portal masters throughout the ages to protect the Skylands from evil. Chaos, the villain, has destroyed the core of light. And, it really doesn't matter. There are platforms to go up on, gates to get through, enemies to destroy. That's all you really need to know. Certain areas are locked and can only be opened by Skylanders of the appropriate type. Much like Funkeys, you'll need to buy more Skylanders of different elemental types to open every gate, but you won't need to open every gate to enjoy the game. And as you played, character stats would be saved back to the figure, making it unique and special to your game. The original version hit PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii, Wii U, Windows, and OS X, with a spin-off under the same title, hitting the Nintendo 3DS. All figures could be played on all versions of the game, meaning, if you leveled up your character in the 360 version and went to your friend's house to play on his Wii, your stats would appear on the other console because they were tied to your figure. There was a portal and 3 characters in each starter pack, and 29 additional characters to collect in stores, along with magical items and new levels, also unlocked with physical toys. The game itself was pretty fun, but these figures are why the game became so popular. Each one was a gorgeous little masterpiece, full of life and splashed with color. Depending on which elemental type it was, the base was sculpted to reflect that, making it easy to spot which one you needed to swap to in the game, but also making a brilliant display for the toy. Characters like Stealth Elf, Boomer, Slam Bam, and Trigger Happy kept kids and adults enthralled for hours. As if the desire to collect all of these figures wasn't enough to satisfy the heads at Activision, they also added multiple redecos of figures, some of which were actually reflected in the game. So some versions, like Dark Spyro or Legendary Bash, could be seen in the game as alternatives to playing as the normal versions of characters, while Crystal or Gold versions were simple chase figures with no impact on gameplay. Frito-Lay added a Sidekick giveaway promotion for 4 more tiny versions to follow you around in the game, but they were not available in stores. Needless to say, all of this made Activision a lot of cash. It's been estimated that Skylanders made over $500 million in the first 6 months of release. This success led to an immediate sequel for the next Christmas season. Fall of 2012 brought Skylanders Giants. The core of the game was very much the same as what had come before, but with an added battle mode that you could pit Skylanders against each other, with extra arenas unlocked using your Spyro's Adventure level pieces from the first game. Giants also added, well, giants. These 8 new figures were about twice as big as the original Skylanders, and when brought to life in the game, were just as big on screen. Some of these giants were designed to connect to original Skylanders design ideas, like Tree Rex to Stump Smash, and Hothead to Eruptor. 8 new regular Skylanders were added to the game, with new favorites like Shroom Boom and Pop Fizz joining the fight. And 24 of the original Skylanders returned with new sculpts and colors to encourage their repurchase, though you could continue to use your original figures in the new game, and new magical items were also introduced. Unfortunately, none of the new figures could be used in the previous game, saved for the redesigned Skylanders. Giants also introduced the Light Core figures. These figures were made with clear sections designed to glow when placed on the portal. When used in-game, they had an extra bomb attack that was otherwise missing from the standard version. Frito-Lay returned with the Sidekick giveaway promotion for 4 more tiny versions to follow you around in the game, and Giants had lots of additional in-game variants and figure chase variants, some of which were handed out only to employees or at trade shows like E3, making them much sought after by collectors and very expensive on the secondary market. Giants was another mega hit for Activision, who reported that in just 15 months since the release of the first game, Skylanders had generated over $1 billion in sales. That's right, $1 billion. Activision wasn't going to leave money on the table, so of course, they had a new version of Skylanders ready for the next Christmas season. Fall of 2013 brought Skylanders Swap Force, the first game without original game designers Toys for Bob on board, with a mix and match mechanic that allowed for a new figure to be taken apart at the waist, or best figure placement approximation for snakes and squids and whatever, and swapped with parts from other Swap Force characters. There were 16 new Swap Force characters to mix and match, 16 new regular Skylanders, 16 returning Skylanders from the previous games in new poses and decos, 8 new Light Core Skylanders, and 8 new magical items. Swap Force introduced many incredible figures that still stand as collectors' favorites today. The Swap Force creations, over 256 variations altogether when accounting for the store exclusives and promotional versions, were so highly detailed and well designed that many players stuck with their favorite creations for the rest of the games in the franchise. Frito-Lay once again had special figures available through their promotions and even sponsored a contest for a fan-made character to be included in the next game. But for collectors, cracks in the gotta catch 'em all attitudes were beginning to show. Too many store exclusives, promotional versions, holiday exclusives, and variants were starting to take their toll. Chase variants that offered no in-game distinction from the original figures were starting to displace the need to buy the original figures. And for many parents, myself included, buying a third version of a Skylander didn't seem like a priority. Plus, with Disney Infinity now competing for shelf space and family dollars, Skylanders started to take a hit. While the Swap Force gimmick was ultimately successful, Activision thought bigger. The next game needed more of a hook, and Toys for Bob returned to give them the idea of Trap Team. Skylanders Trap Team launched in the fall of 2014 and incorporated the idea of crystal traps that could be used to trap villains from the game and use them like Skylanders heroes for a limited time. A speaker built into the new Traptanium portal would carry over sound effects and vocals from the screen to the player in the real world, giving a sense of full circle to the Toys to Life concept. Along with these traps were new Trap Master Skylanders, 18 new figures embedded with large crystal accessories to capture the light from the portal. 18 new Skylanders were created for this installment, which was not only the largest set of new Skylanders since the original game's release, but also included all 3 fan-created figures from the Frito-Lay promotion. 16 minifigures were introduced into the game. These were essentially the same concept as the sidekicks from the Frito-Lay promotions, but now were available at retail for full purchase price and in much greater numbers. And along with the 8 new magical items, only 5 Skylanders survived to be reposed and repainted in this installment. For some, it was a little sad not to see some of their favorites return, although they very well might have been minis, but it also gave the game a much fresher feeling. The traps, however, ended up being a controversial part of the new game. 64 total traps were produced for the game. Only one villain at a time could be contained within a trap, meaning if you wanted to capture and keep all 40 plus villains in the game, you would need 40 plus different traps. If you didn't have enough traps and wanted to catch a new one, you'd have to overwrite an existing villain to make space. As if this wasn't headache-inducing enough, you needed the same elemental type of trap as the villain to capture it. And Trap Team added light and dark to the elemental roster, meaning you needed to keep at least 10 traps to capture one villain of each kind. Finally, there was a Chaos Trap that had the sole purpose of capturing Chaos, the main villain of the series. If you haven't lost your mind yet thinking about all the trouble this presents to the series, the traps were the cheapest offering amongst the toys, meaning they often sold out. And distribution was apparently handled by colorblind narcoleptics, so finding the trap you needed could often take weeks of traveling from store to store unless you were willing to pay a 3 times to 4 times markup on eBay. Trap Team also saw the beginning of the Eon's Elite line of figures, representing the original figures with new paint apps and golden bases, along with stronger attributes in the game. However, these retailed at $25 a piece, and considering that they were often 3 times more powerful in the game than the basic characters, they appeared to be both a cash grab and an attempt to let players buy their way to easier victories. The game by itself was awesome and a lot of fun, but the toys were getting out of hand, and the requirements to own more real-world elements, no doubt mandated by Bobby Kotick and the board at Activision, made fan reaction to the toys sour even more. 2015 brought back Vicarious Visions as the lead developer, and with them a change that would ultimately lead to the end of the Skylanders series. Skylanders Superchargers was essentially a kart racing game with Skylanders adventuring elements included. Only 20 Skylanders characters were released, mixing together new and old characters, but now perched atop bronze engines to distinguish them from their old characters. This was done because, for the first time in the history of the franchise, new incarnations of your favorite characters were not backwards compatible with older games. Also, 20 new vehicles were created for the game, along with the prerequisite chase variants that featured articulated wheels, wings, helicopter blades, etc. And 4 new trophies to take the place of magical items were introduced that allow you to race as villains. While the sculpts and paint applications were as fantastic as ever, the engine aesthetic wasn't a great look for many fans of the toys. Initial reviews of the games praised the new gameplay, but sales began to fall as families adjusted to the new prices, as Skylanders jumped from $7.99 to $12.99, and vehicles were $15.99, and complaints over the change in direction overshadowed what was meant to be one of the greatest coups in the ongoing struggles over the toys-to-life industry. See, while LEGO Dimensions and Disney Infinity paid minor attention to Nintendo's Wii and 3DS consoles, Skylanders had always supported them as best as they could. Activision made a deal with Nintendo to include versions of Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong's Barrel Blaster Kart in starter packs for the Wii U, and Bowser in starter packs for the Wii and the 3DS. These versions would go on to also work on the Nintendo Switch, and they have the dual ability to work as amiibos, Nintendo's own toys-to-life creations. Unfortunately, they weren't compatible with other consoles, but many fans bought multiple starter kits just to get Donkey Kong and Bowser. Regardless of the Nintendo Love Fest, Activision reported to investors that Q3 release of Superchargers had underperformed. Activision blamed greater competition in the Toys to Life market, which is fair, but also blamed a shift in casual gaming to mobile devices that games like Skylanders really weren't designed for. Because of this, Activision would chase the mobile market for the next few years, but they had one console release in the works, and they were going to give it one last shot. The final Skylanders console release was Skylanders Imaginators by the original designers Toys for Bob, which was released in the fall of 2016 to once again take advantage of the Christmas 2016 shopping season. This time, Toys for Bob took inspiration from their own children and from many fan letters from other kids who always wanted to create their own Skylanders. To facilitate this, Imaginators introduced the Creation Crystals. Using a Creation Crystal, players could create their own characters who would be saved to the crystal and would otherwise act in the game the same as any other Skylander. While many fans were excited by this, one nagging decision about the creation process irked more than a few fans of the series. When creating your character, you must choose a battle class. This class will determine the base move set and opens a particular skill tree to utilize when upgrading your character. The problem was that once you chose this battle class, it would be forever programmed into the crystal. If you decided to replay the game a second time and wanted a different class of character, you would need to purchase another crystal for $10. If you bought a crystal secondhand, you would be stuck with whatever class had previously been chosen. The name and look of the character could be changed to whatever you wanted as often as you liked, but that class was permanent. Many fans tried to hack this or attempted to use glitches in the games to reset these crystals with varying degrees of success, but it was another controversial choice that would divide fans and shrink sales. Another issue was the arrival of the Sensei Skylanders. With no basic or budget-friendly Skylanders released with Imaginators, the other set of figures was the Sensei line that would help your Imaginator to level up and expand their abilities. These figures were bigger than your average Skylander and featured a new type of base to help visually separate them from previous releases. With the success of Donkey Kong and Bowser the year before, Activision dug into their own library of titles and pulled out Crash Bandicoot and Dr. Neo Cortex to draw attention to the new Sensei line. Again, many fans were excited to see these new figures, but Sensei figures launched at $20 each. 31 Sensei figures were released, both as heroes and villains to play along with, but many fans just couldn't justify another round of high prices. Another controversial choice was the introduction of the mystery chests. These chests acted as double blind bags of parts for your Imaginators. Buying a chest pack would reveal either a gold, silver, or bronze chest. Each chest held 9 parts for your Imaginator, with gold chests offering the best and rarest parts, while bronze held the most common. But then placing the chest on your portal would randomly give you those items, meaning you blindly got a class of chest and then blindly got an assortment of parts. At $5 to $7 a piece, depending on your retailer, it was often a tough sell. The game itself has since gone on to be hailed as the best Skylanders game ever made and a masterpiece of the era, but the toys which had once captured the hearts and imagination of fans everywhere now seemed either too expensive or too bland. Imaginators may be fondly remembered by its fans as being the best Skylanders game ever, but it was also the worst selling one ever. 1 month after launch, Imaginators had only sold 66,000 copies in the US and only managed to cross the 100,000 unit mark after Black Friday discounts. This signaled to Activision, who had previously seen the Guitar Hero franchise drop like a lead balloon and lose millions of dollars, that the days of Toys to Life was over for now, and Skylanders was placed on hiatus. Toys R Us began massive clearance sales of the figures. No longer could you find buy one get one 70% off or buy one get one free promotions. Now you would find buy one get 2 free or buy one get 4 free. Our favorite was when Toys R Us dropped the prices to $2.98 a piece and then offered you 4 more for free. As quickly as Skylanders moved into the Toys to Life arena and took it over, it tumbled and the market dried up. You can still find amiibos, but newer games like Starlink were DOA, and even Skylanders getting a Netflix animated series couldn't keep the interest alive. Perhaps a new Skylanders game will emerge in the next few years on the new generation of consoles, but if it does, it sure as heck better use all of these old figures I still have laying around.
Wow, they sure did land on the sky, huh?
What?
And then they fell through the clouds.
What?
They reached massive success, then failed.
Huh. Right. Now, one thing about the game is I did mention that you can level up your Skylanders, but I didn't really go into a lot of detail about that. But of course, one of the things is the hats. There were all kinds of hats that you could find for your Skylander that you could put on them, meaning your Spyro was running around maybe with a little sailor hat on, or a construction worker helmet, or something. Is that where your gimmick of wearing different hats came from? Because
honestly, it's very possible.
Huh. That never really thought about it, huh?
Yeah, I didn't.
But that's one of the things, that you've always had that weird hat collection.
And one of my favorite hats in the game was just like this massive top hat, and I've wanted one for a while, so...
And you started with the cheese hat. Because the cheese top hat was your first of those weird hats. So
it's still my most iconic.
Alright, so... yeah, so there was a lot of stuff to pack into that video. That was kind of a long a video. I did the best I could to get as much of the pertinent details in there. But yeah, so we had the traps, which was a big thing that led to the downfall. Just because you had to buy so many of these and they could only hold one villain at a time. That was a big problem with people trying to find these traps. I remember us going from store to store trying to track down the right traps. There were some... You know, was it the light trap?
Light and dark traps. They came out with 2 new types near the end of the series. I guess at the end of the trap team game. 3 new figures, bunch of new types of traps, new characters. It's like, oh, we finally got everything. Oh wait, now I have to spend another $200.
Not $200. Come on, mommy might be watching. Shh. So. Light traps, I remember, yeah, that was, and the chaos trap. Eventually, we found chaos traps, but by the time we found chaos traps, they were everywhere in the stores.
Yeah.
That was one of those things, like, that you couldn't find them forever, and then eventually, when you did find them, they were everywhere, and you couldn't find anything else. It was just the worst distribution. So these little suckers, I think, really started to kind of push people over the edge. And then superchargers, as fun as, you know, these little racing machines are in real life, like the spinning wheels, the spinning helicopter blades, like these are really cool as toys go. The whole point that you couldn't use the superchargers figures, like Spyro, for instance, as a supercharger figure, you couldn't use him in the previous games. That was something they had always done, where if you bought the Spyro that was for Giants, you could still use him in Spyro's Adventure because it was still Spyro who was in the first game. So they could reach backwards and forwards as long as it was the same character. Superchargers, those characters were no longer able to be used in the games, which meant there was a line being drawn, where now all of these toys and these games are on one side, and these other toys and these games are on the other side. You could bring the old toys forward, but the new ones couldn't go back, and it was like a nightmare, and you know, kids and parents trying to figure this stuff out, and you're in Toys R Us and you're trying to listen to like some 6-year-old explain this to their parents, and it was really confusing.
I'll be honest, I didn't even know they had, I guess, backwards or forwards compatibility. I thought just, oh, you use the orange ones for Giants, you use the red ones for Swap Force, I think, no. For Trap Team, you use the green ones for Spyro's Adventure. I didn't know you could use newer characters that are the redesigns on the first game or anything like that.
But you did know you could use the old ones moving forward. Yeah, because we used to do that.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Because you used to use your Swap Force guy with like all the new games.
Well.
And then of course this is the one that did it in, was Imaginators, because as neat as it was to create your own, this is not your character. Whatever your character is, if it's a frog in a top hat with a bullwhip, this is not it. And for kids to be stuck with this instead of an actual character, when they've spent games playing with like really nice toy figures, this just doesn't cut it.
I actually think they were doing a service for a limited amount of time.
Right. You could do some sort of 3D printing thing, but I don't remember if it was like you had to win contests or you had to pay a lot of money. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but there were ways that you could get certain versions, printed, made. But even then, it was limited. It was hard to do. It wasn't something that everybody was able to take advantage of. And again, this just doesn't look exciting as your personalized character.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. So these three things together, but I think ultimately these two the most, and the changes that went on with the games are the things that caused the end of Skylanders.
Another thing with the Imaginator crystals is that they had a mobile game where you could create characters and then send them into the whatever this is.
Creation crystal?
Yeah. And I would spend so much time just making characters, putting pieces together, because you could even tie it with the actual game and unlock extra stuff for the mobile version, and I think there are even mobile version exclusive parts. So that was just fun for me to just build with. But then I realized that these were locked to a specific, type of weapon.
Battle class.
Battle class. That's when I got really upset. Because, I like scythes, but maybe this time I want to use a giant hammer. Or I want to use a sword. And it just wouldn't let you switch it.
Right.
You had to go buy a new one.
So, one thing though, as I was researching all this, I found there were a number of different glitches and different hacks people were using to try to reset these. So maybe we'll try some of those. One of them was if you had the portals for Skylanders Giants on the 3DS. Apparently they said if you set this on the portal and tried to use this as a character in that version of the game, the 3DS would say there's something corrupted on your Skylander. Would you like to reset it? And you would say yes, and it would reset, and it would reset it back to being brand new, and you'd be able to do it. Now, I don't know how well that works. Some people said it doesn't always work. Some people said sometimes it would just reset all your stats. Sometimes it would do a full reset. Maybe it depends on the crystals. Maybe it depends on when they manufactured the crystals, because maybe they did a running change where later ones they manufactured, they took that into account. They were able to work around it. I don't know exactly, but we'll try that, maybe see if we can get that to work. But the point being, people were so desperate to be able to reset these things, to pick a different battle class, instead of having to buy more of these for $10 a pop, that that really shows you how bad an idea it was to have this locked down.
Yeah.
All right, so what about you? You had some favorites.
Yes, indeed I do. This is my favorite character. It's a Swap Force guy. I liked him because with the bottom, by boosting, you can make a shield around yourself and damage enemies who try to attack you. And the fists just do a lot of damage and come out really fast. And also it has a life drain feature. And for a 7-year-old, that's really good for getting more health in the game. Then I also have this little scythe guy. I don't know why, I just really like scythes in general, and just Grim Reaper style characters, and I'm a big fan of that blue magic that comes off of him. And then Enigma, which is his name, the only one of my favorites I remember the name of. I just like him because he's a cool wizard guy.
Wait, is this Trap Team?
Yes.
Okay.
The other two are Swap Force.
Okay.
And I just like magic guys in general, and especially his design with him fading away invisibly at the bottom.
Is this a variant, or is that the way he was?
That's the way he normally is.
Oh, okay.
I really like the way it fades.
Yeah. That's neat. I thought maybe it was a variant because it looked so cool. Because the other ones didn't look that cool. A lot of them just had horns or a shield or something, but that was clear all the way through.
I was the big lion guy who's in full gold armor with a big shield.
Okay, Skylanders, one of the things about doing this video series that we discovered is, we haven't played these in years.
Yeah.
But we still have all these toys. We still have tons of them sitting in bins, sitting in carrying cases. Like the carrying cases went on clearance. The Amiibo cases were going on clearance at Toys R Us, you know, when they were like $2.98. So we bought like 5 Amiibo cases, but we ended up using them for Skylanders. But shh, don't tell Nintendo. So we still have a bunch of these toys sitting around. So we played a little bit of UB Funkeys. We found a way, there was a hack so that you could still play it. And we were like, oh, that was kind of fun to go back and play it. Disney Infinity and Lego Dimensions, we were like, oh, that might be kind of fun to go back and revisit. Doing all this stuff, looking at the Skylanders again, it's like, wow, we really want to play some of these old games again, which makes me wonder if, Skylanders has never officially been canceled. I wonder if there might be something new that may come back with the new console generations. When they're getting ready to relaunch with Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, I'm wondering if we might not see something new with Skylanders to bring back the series, because again, it was never officially canceled. There are still some mobile games out there they've been working on. There's Battlecast, the card game. They stopped manufacturing the cards, but before they stopped, they printed rules. So they made actual offline rules. Wow. So you can continue to play the game to this day if you want to with the cards, because you no longer need the mobile app to keep playing. So the game technically is still alive, and there are people who still play. We have unopened packs that we had in the bins with the Skylanders that we found, so we may kick that around a little bit as well. So there's still people out there who play it. The groups are still alive. There's still websites and forums devoted to Skylanders and Lego Dimensions and Disney Infinity, and people still love this stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of this comes back. Now, Lego Dimensions, Disney Infinity, those may be done for good. But Skylanders, with Activision and the way that they really like to milk money out of things, I would not be surprised to see Skylanders return.
I think I remember this guy's name, not the bottom part.
Okay.
Night Fist.
Night Fist.
Because he's a vampire, and he's an undead type, and he has the boxing gloves.
Yeah, and you used to have gloves like that when you were little.
They were terrible and tore after one use. Yeah, if they do create a new Skylanders game, all I request is like a golden variant of Night Fist, or some sort of like light core version. You know, I mean.
Let's keep it fresh.
Yeah. That's,
all right. All right. Let's hop over to the mailbag. Okay, now besides all the people that tell us we're so great and good looking and wonderful,
they don't say that at all,
and all of that type of stuff that we normally get, we did get one letter here, letter, that's not really the right comment, that I wanted to spotlight, because this goes back to the Funkeys video that we did last week. This is from CS Maniac 33. And CS Maniac 33, what he says here was, I was really into Funkeys. Surprised you didn't mention the whole Funky Trunk microtransaction thing. First game I can think with microtransactions. Played this a lot as a kid. Never got any from the last wave, which never actually got any of the non-rare varieties. I find it also funny that the second Speed Racer wave got canceled because the movie did terrible. So let that be a lesson. If there's a movie coming out, it's by the Wachowskis, just don't see it. And I know you don't know what that means, but the first Matrix movie was good.
Okay.
The others were not. And no other movie that they've ever done has been good.
There were other Matrix movies?
Yeah, there were 3 of them. And the other 2 are so bad, that's why you've never seen them. They're just awful. All right, so... but CS Maniac 33, pointed out a good thing here, an important thing with the Funky Trunks. And we forgot about this because, like I said, we found a version of the game that was hacked. We could get it up and running on the modern hardware. We could play it. And of course, none of the microtransactions were running because the servers are offline. It's not connecting to anything. So we had no way of actually interacting with that kind of stuff. But basically what it was is you had this guy who would wander around, this old man.
Angus.
Angus, there you go. And he had a lab, Angus's lab. And he could sell you certain items for your crib, or he could sell you certain like magical potions and whatever. But one of the things that he sold were familiars. And these familiars looked like little colorful worms, and they would surround your avatar, and they would circle around. And we actually bought one for you at one point because you loved the game so much. And basically what the avatar did was it allowed you to go into a realm that you didn't have the Funky for. So for instance, if you wanted to go to Nightmare Rift and you didn't have one of the figures for that area, you could find Angus, you could pay real world money for special Funky coins to buy one of these familiars, so then you'd be able to go through the gate that you otherwise wouldn't be able to pass through.
But there's another issue with that, is that most of the mini games in each area are locked behind specific Funkies. So you can basically just enter the area, that's about it.
Well, kind of. I mean, well, yeah, I guess you're right. There were some buildings and stuff you couldn't get into because you had to... But it would... I don't know. I think maybe it would allow you into certain ones in that area that the characters were like the class of. But anyway, I don't remember exactly how it worked. But yes, so we actually did that one time. We spent real world money, bought the in-game currency to allow you to get it. I think it was for your birthday or something because you loved Funky so much back in the day, and I had forgotten all about that. But that is true, that they did have those trunks. That is something that we had missed because, again, the servers are offline now. So if you find the hacked versions of Funkies that you can play, they have different, I guess you'd say cheats that you can use to play, because the portals won't work anymore under the new versions of Windows. They don't work well with virtualization and compatibility mode and things like that. So instead, you use these hex key cheat editors, whatever, to switch which Funky it thinks that you have. So the game, you type in a code and the game will think you're loading a different Funky on there, which on the one hand is kind of neat, because there are some that we never had that we were able to experiment with and pull them up.
Like the villain?
Like Master Locks, yeah, or the henchman. But then, none of the like DC character ones are in there because the DC update never came out. The game was canceled before that update came along. So unfortunately, they don't exist.
I want to play as Batman. I want to play as Funky Batman.
I know, that would be so awesome. But unfortunately, it's not there. Although, if I ever win the lottery, maybe I could find some programmers, give them some money, and have them hack the game and build all that in there. That would be fun.
Hey, we'll pay you money to put useless characters into this dead and unplayable game.
That's what I do. Alright, so, I want to thank again CS Maniac 33. I'm so glad you brought that up. That was an important piece of information we had completely forgotten about. And remembering that, again, brought back more memories, especially for you, and you getting that familiar and how excited you were back then, back when you were like this tall.
Yeah,
playing the game. Last year when you liked to play. So anyway, that's going to do it, I think, from us, unless there's anything else you needed to add about Skylanders or Funkies or anything else.
If they come out with a new game, I will gladly be happy and play it.
Yeah, you're not going to say buy it, because you're not going to buy it. You're going to make us buy it for you, but... Alright guys, that's going to do it. Don't forget, you can send us an email, you can call our 24-hour voicemail line, you can find him over on Twitch, you can find him on his YouTube channel.
And links will be in the description?
Yes, well, they're going to be on the screen going by.
Whoa!
I am going to start doing some more Twitch live streams of certain games. Maybe if we get Funkies or... Skylanders or something up and going, we may stream some of those, because I've been looking into some of the stuff about Twitch and about uploading the videos and building that video library and stuff that we talked about, because they're taking on YouTube, and I'd like to get videos up there too as another spot to put videos. And so what you have to do though is you have to start with the streaming and do lots of the streaming, which I did a live stream stuff for a long time, but I always did it on YouTube. I never thought about doing it on Twitch. So we'll do some of those. on Twitch, and you have to like build up to a certain point before they unlock that ability. So we will do that, and then we will start building a library over there on Twitch, so you guys will have options. So there are places you can go. We've started uploading some of these even to Facebook. So if you prefer just to go to Facebook and watch through the Facebook app, or watch through the Facebook Watch app, which I don't know anybody who does, but just in case you do, there's another spot where you can go. You can find Pop Culture Network on Facebook, and you can find the videos on there as well. So that's going to do it for us, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Your hand broke.
Yeah.